Action Comics 23.3, aka Lex Luthor, written by Charles Soule, art by Raymond Bermudez. So, this is not an origin story, this is not backstory, this is just a day in the life of Lex Luthor right before Forever Evil happens. So, we see that he was in jail. He's like, alright, well, I've had enough of that. Time for me to go out and be Lex Luthor businessman. And he still has his face scarred. And I'm so happy, I have to say, that this issue finally explains what happened, not to his face, but to heal his face. So, as he's walking out of the prison, he turns to a guard and be like, hey, these are the prison clothes that Lex Luthor wore. You could sell these for like millions of dollars to collectors. Come over here and take it. And the guard is like, and he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. So he walks out, hops in a helicopter with his secretary waiting, and as the secretary's name is Casey, by the way. As he's getting into the helicopter, Casey's giving him a rundown of like, okay, well, these lawyers have done whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he just stops and he's like, hey, Casey, I'm getting out of jail. Where the hell is Superman? And she's like, I don't know. I checks online. Apparently there's been no sightings of Superman for like the past 8 hours. And he's just like, I don't like this. Superman is obsessed with me. Why would he not be here? Why would he not see me getting out of jail and like threaten me as he always does? And just like, I don't know. Maybe he just, I don't know. And so he's like, all right, well, start the Ghost Town project. And it's like, okay, I guess, sure. And he says burn the prison outfit as well, just out of spite because he doesn't need the money. So we go back to LexCorp headquarters, and Casey explains that there's someone named Noel Spheris who is trying to do a hostile takeover of a tiny Luthor subsidiary that makes like fertilizer or something like that. And we see some plastic surgeons are in the room, and they are doing plastic surgery on Lex's face. And long story short, they fix him. He now looks normal. He no longer has a scarred face. And we see Lex's plan is for this Noel guy, Spheris. He tells him, okay, call him up and tell him to back off, or else I'm going to make him beg that I buy his company for just pennies on the dollar before the end of the day. And so theoretically that is enough to scare him, but we see, okay, let's go ahead and just give a little extra push. Go ahead and go into our system. There's a file on Spheris. Password is this. Go ahead and follow the instructions there. And he once again asks, where's Superman? He's like, still no sign of him. It's been 12 hours now. And just like, okay, we're going to go ahead and start something up. So he goes down to his space, Lex space, and he tells some astronauts, hey, you're going up into space, lower Earth orbit, and you'll follow the instructions when you get up there. And they say, okay, sure, why not? So they climb up there. Lex goes down to his armory, his gun range, and he's like, well, been a while since I got to have some fun. Let's test out the new weapons. And he hops into one of his mech suits and just starts firing off these guns at Superman dummies, firing off missiles and testing the booster systems. And he's like, all right, cool. Goes down to the scientists, and they're like, as you can see, we've kept it updated and you've been in jail. And he's like, throw it away and start again. And you need to fix at least 14 different things that I see is wrong with it by the time I get back, or you're all fired. And they're like, yes, Mr. Luthor. So we go up into space, and they start to follow Lex's instructions, which are basically shutting down the main engines and going into a free fall back into orbit. So we then cut over to Lex, who's getting a breakdown on the Spheris thing, and it's like, oh, he's called 7 times, he's getting desperate, and it's like, oh, okay, go ahead, bring him up on the phone. And Spheris is just like, okay, fine, you want me to beg, you want me to plead, I'll buy back. I'll back off your business. I'll do whatever you need. And it's just like, oh, no. I told you that you would beg me to buy your business. We'll talk then. Hangs up on him. These people out in space do a fake call to Superman saying, hey, our engines are dead. We need you, Superman. Come and get us. And they just are slowly drifting into Earth's atmosphere, doing re-entry. And Superman still doesn't show up. And he's like, okay, yeah, that is weird. That is strange. So at that point, the Spheres guy calls back and says, please, my company is tanking. Buy it now. You said you would. And he said, no. I said that I would get you to beg. And I have. But I'm going to let you sit with your company until it is worth nothing. Goodbye. And he turns off the thing. We see the astronauts in space. Now that Superman hasn't responded, they're like, well, guess he's not coming. Let's go ahead and start back up the engines. But as they go to start it, they're not turning on. They're basically falling into Earth's orbit, and we see them explode into the atmosphere. And Casey's like, what in the hell was that? What happened? And it's just like, oh, see, my whole plan there was if I went out and I actually went up and saved them as Lex Luthor, because that was Casey's original thing she was saying. It was just like, oh, you can go and save the astronauts and make yourself a hero, where Superman doesn't. Very smart of you, sir. But he points out, no. If I went up there was a chance I could fail. There was a chance that I would look like an idiot. But now that I've let them die and Superman didn't come to save them, people are blaming Superman. I had nothing to do with this. So this is all on Superman's hands now. And as a little added twist, I made it so that it exploded right over top of Spherus's house. So he just lost all of his home and stuff in the explosion. Win-win for me. And Casey's just like, oh my God, you are as bad as they say. I'm calling 911. And she tries to call 911. Lex takes her phone. It's just like, oh, Casey, you shouldn't have done that. Because now I know you're one of them. You're not like me. You're not willing to do what's necessary. And he pushes her off the edge of the building. And immediately he walks back in and it's just like, all right, well, computer, hire me another secretary. Go ahead and get a bouquet of flowers for all the astronauts' families. Set up a press conference saying how much of an accident it is, and oh yeah, I have to go meet up with Thomas Cord about buying his company out from under him. And as he's walking into his helicopter, he's like, it's a good day. It's a good day. Feels like nothing's really in my way at all. I'm having a good one. And we see the news secretary is sitting there already in the helicopter, just being like, oh, Lex, I'm so looking forward to working with you, Mr. Luthor. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And he's just like, well, we'll see about that. And that's the issue. I like it. I enjoyed it. I think that it is extremely well written, of all these interwoven plots. I did a horrible job of explaining it, but it is a great job of just showing the intricacies and all the things that Lex is willing to do just to screw over people for the pettiest of crimes. It's magnificent. So yeah, I gotta say this is probably a solid 8. I'm thinking it's really good. Art style's great. I like the way it makes Lex so menacing. And it does bridge that little gap of how did we get to where we last saw Lex locked up in a jail with his face messed up to now. I kind of wish it had a actual story reason and like why his face was messed up to begin with. But if we're just going to move on, then we're just going to move on. So 8.